Hi, and welcome to the Sunday Conversation. I'm Alan Masters. Today is Sunday, January 24th, 2021. Well, now that we're on the other side of this presidential craziness, we're all starting to wonder, okay, what now? Well, like you, I'm probably disappointed. I have to think that if you're watching this, we're of like mind, that we wanted to have a Trump in the White House for the next 4 years. But I'm not going to say that that isn't going to happen, because there's still some scuttlebutt. But you know what? At some point, we have to just let it go and move on with our lives. So what I've decided to do is to just stop thinking about it, stop kvetching about it, because all of the worrying and all of the pontificating and bloviating and talking about it at some point is for naught. So let's just let it go for now. Now we have to concentrate on the nuclear family. No, I'm not talking about nuclear bombs. If you don't know what the nuclear family, that means your family, my wife, my children, my family, and it emanates out from me, the nuclear family, okay? And I realize, and so the topic of today is, and the name of this show is Conquer from Within. And the reason is, and I've bought the URL, this is the name of the book that I'm going to write. And I keep coming back to this theme over and over again now for a couple of years. And I say it, and when I say it out of my mouth, I go, I've got to do that. The onus is on me to fix me first, to save me first, just like they say, oxygen on your face first before you can help somebody else. So I've got to try and work on me first. And now I realize that I can't fix myself, but I can at least be conscious of the things that I do wrong and give it up to God and say, God, I need your help. And then I can continuously be conscious of the things that I do right and wrong. Because I'm conscious of when I'm kind and when I'm generous and when I'm, loving. And I'm also conscious of when I'm not kind, I'm not generous, I'm greedy, mean-spirited, and selfish. And all. I'm conscious of it. So are you. We're all conscious of the things that we do, right and wrong. The difference is you can go through life in this consciousness, which is just maybe one level above, or I should say one level below where you should be technically, because we need to rise up out of the muck. And I was going to say dig deeper, but really it's actually rising up out of the muck. So it's one level below where I should be in my higher consciousness. In other words, yes, I'm aware of when I'm cruel, and I don't do anything about it. I don't say, you know what, that was wrong, I'm sorry. Or, you know what, hold on. I shouldn't have said that. That was out of order, I'm sorry. Self-correcting. So, conquer from within. So what I've been doing is I've been really, really, really working on myself. And when I say that, it's almost like, I think the best way to say it is that I know that there are two of me inside of here. There's me, the old me, myself, and I. There's the real me, which is my soul, a gift from God. And then there's the alternate ego, the alternate person, which is a curse from the hell, I guess you might say, from the devil. He's there. I've allowed him to inhabit space. I've rented him a room inside of myself. So what I'm doing is I am now watching my renter, because he's not a good tenant. He's thrashing the place constantly. So I have to watch him, because unfortunately the laws, just like the laws of the land, I can't kick him out. I can't kick him out. Only God can take him out of me. So I have to come closer to God. I have to be more like Jesus, more God-like, more, what would Jesus do in many of these instances? And just simply not react, watch, see what he's doing, starve him out. Because he's, how do I say this? Consuming me slowly, or had been up until recently. This is where you're probably going to say to yourself, yeah, I know what that means. Lack of energy, lack of consciousness, awareness of my life and what I'm eating. And then I get frustrated because this thing is eating away at me and I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. So I eat ice cream and the wrong foods and comfort foods because I don't want to deal with this bad renter. And it's the same way. I've had bad renters. I own some property and I've had bad renters that have thrashed my property, punched holes in the wall, not taken care of things, not fixed things, just worn my property out. Now, I'm God's property. And you see some people that just look like they've been worn out. I was walking through the parking lot here the other day, and a couple of bums walked up to me. And they're like, "Hey, Mac, what's going on?" And I was like, "Are you talking to me? You talking to me?" Anyway, I thought, okay, well, they're going to confront me, so let's see what they have to say. And so I just said, "Are you talking to me?" And the guy says, "Yeah. You got some extra change for me?" I said, "No, I'm afraid I don't." But I didn't no, I don't. It didn't give him disgust. I said, "No, I don't. I'm sorry." And because I'm not going to feed their habit, you can tell the guy was drunk. One of the two, actually both of them probably. But the guy was a big guy. He was about 6'2", and his knuckles were all busted up and bloody and scratch marks on both of them like he'd been fighting. And I thought to myself, well, let's see. My gun is not close to me, so what do I have but my wits? So I kept my wits about me. I kept calm when potentially it could have been a bad situation. We were right in the middle of a big parking lot. And he just started kind of saying some gnarly things to me, and I just looked at him. And he said, "What are you drinking there?" I said, "Some cold coffee that doesn't really taste that good." And he starts laughing this crazy, like, why don't you go buy a new one then? You got money. Look at you. You're rich. And I thought to myself, this person is inhabited by that bad renter. Now, I'm a landlord. I have commercial property. I have renters that are good renters, and I have a few that are bad. And I realized that my reaction to this type of treatment is going to determine the outcome of what happens next. So I smiled at him and I just said, "You know what?" I said, "I limit myself to 1 cup a day." I said, as human beings, we have to learn how to control ourselves and what we put in our bodies, and so that we can find some sanity in this life, right? And he goes, "Yeah, well, not me." And I actually created a conversation with this guy. And before it was over, I said, "Well, look, it looks like you've got some money too. You're wearing a Carhartt jacket, which are very expensive." He goes, "Somebody gave it to me." He was actually upset that I considered, saying that he might have some money because he's probably dead broke. But I had this conversation with him like he was a human being, not a bum, which he was, but he's also a human being. He is choosing that life right there, right now. So we had this conversation, and somebody drove up that I knew, and it was the guy that I was going to be doing the radio show with. And I said, "Oh, well, my guy's here. I have a meeting. I have to go. Everything okay with you guys? You all right? You need anything?" And the guy said, "I need some money." I said, "I'll tell you what." I said, gotta get a job or, do something to earn some money with somebody." He goes, "I'm a carpenter. I can do anything." I said, "Well, that's awesome." I said, "You've got some skills and you've got a trade." I said, "You got to put it to good use." And I treated him like a human being. And you know what? He reacted to that. He reacted positively to that. And I said, "Listen, guys, have a good day. All right. Have a great day. Have a good day." So, and I walked away. And they just went on their way. But it's interesting because how I reacted to this, what could have been, "Get off my property," turned out that they were just kind of passing through the parking lot and they were kind of looking for a fight. You could see that on their knuckles and on the disposition that they were even moving through the parking lot with. But I did not give them a reason to get hateful and to dive into their lower nature. I actually lifted them up for a moment, and they appreciated, I think, somebody talking to them like they were human beings. But I decided not to give in to kind of the dark side that says, here comes a couple of bums, get ready, they're going to fight. Where's your gun, if you know what I'm saying? So there's always this other side ready to pull you into a potential bad situation. Happened at the Capitol, right? Some bad guys rushed in, started saying, come on, this way. And some good people were not in their center, and they fell to the temptation to just, yeah, this is our day. We're going to take over. I wouldn't have rushed into the Capitol. I would have run the other way. I would have said, nope, this is not how to deal with this. So what I'm saying to you is the first thing we have to do is conquer ourselves. One of these philosophers, it says, a man is greater that can conquer himself than one that conquers 1,000 men in battle. So if a man is greater that can conquer himself than a man that conquers 1,000 men in battle, that says something right there. And I absolutely feel that way. So what have I been doing? I have been being conscious of my dark side. We all have it. Or at least it knocks at the door every day. It depends on if you let it in or not. So I'm conscious of this, whether it be as small as what I eat, what I snack on, how much coffee I might drink, because I can drink 2 or 3 cups and turn into a heroin addict, at least act like one because I'm hopped up on coffee. A drug is a drug is a drug is a drug, whatever it might be. And in my case, coffee can make me have jitters and turn into an animal, if you know what I'm saying. And I like coffee. So all things in moderation. But I did start looking at the things that I was eating, even though, so I had my gallbladder out a year and, a few months ago now. And ever since I had my gallbladder out, I've removed something that God gave me that was this perfect machine. And now I have a little bit of difficulty eating certain things. So I thought, okay, well, all things work together for good for those that love the Lord. So now this maybe was what I needed to really move up one notch to the next level, which is to be more conscious of what I ate, because God gave me such a well-oiled machine that I used to think I could eat anything and I'm going to be healthy. Well, as we get older, we find out that's not true. So I'm much more cautious of what I eat. It's been about, going on 3 weeks since I started this. And I'm doing this keto diet. I've lost, I've lost weight. I hope I look a little thinner. I feel better. I have lost weight, not as much as I was hoping, but I've given up hoping on a number or even caring about a number. I know I just have to eat right, do what's right, and I will be right. I will be what I'm supposed to be according to the Father in heaven, what He wants me to be, whether that's strong of mind, strong of body, strong of spirit and character, or if I will go down this other road of junk food and selfishness and feeding the wrong side of myself, opening the door to the tenant that I should not have. So as I'm cleansing not only my mind, body, and soul, I'm also starving out this tenant that I don't want, this bad side of me. And all of a sudden I realize, well, that was never me after all. All those things I did were never me after all. They were me falling in agreement with this other thing, this other monkey head, this other side of me, this bad tenant. So I've gotten rid of all my bad tenants, and I have pretty much just good tenants. And it's also how I deal with those tenants that helps them to be better tenants. So I realize this guy's going to be around forever. And he needs to go on a diet too, because he can't keep consuming me, because he was getting fat right along with me. So I start watching what I'm eating. I start watching what I'm thinking and how I'm reacting. Meditate more. Ask for guidance more often. And all of a sudden, everything starts coming clear. Watching the election not go my way and watching it going, well, that's odd, because I'm not shocked. I'm a little set back like, well, that's not what I thought would happen. But I'm not angry. I'm not full of angst. I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. I don't have agina, as the Italians will say, heartburn over it. I don't seem to be worried because I've been preparing myself for something wicked this way come, which has come. You see it. The whole country is in reverse right now, thanks to Joe Biden. He's just undoing everything that Donald Trump did that was any good. But I don't seem to be reacting the way I thought I would. The boogeyman has come, but I'm not running for the woods, if you know what I'm saying. I'm not going crazy in my head. I sleep better because I'm not reacting. I'm still eating clean and good. And I'm feeling pretty calm. So I realized, I thought, well, how can I do this even better? How can I give that extra tenth I've talked about and talked before, called the extra tenth? How can I give that extra tenth when I've already exceeded my best possibilities of having consciousness? Caddyshack, on your deathbed you shall receive total consciousness. I would like to receive total consciousness before my deathbed. Wouldn't that be a gift? So how can I continue to hone this man? Well, I just keep moving forward. I don't know. I can't figure it out. I can't write it down. I can't tell you what to do because we're all different. But I know that there is more of me that I can whittle off. The carving is not yet complete. There's more to whittle at. There's more of Alan that needs to go away. There's more of my dark side that I can whittle at, if that's what it is. So I'm having a great time. Like I said, this is my journey. And now I'm starting to really all of a sudden feel stronger in my beliefs that are not in a man that is on this earth today, a Donald Trump or a Joe Biden or any of these characters. It's in God. And God will guide me. So I don't want to be put on a pedestal. My dad has never wanted to be put on a pedestal. He's always said, don't put me on a pedestal because you're not focusing on yourself. You're focusing on him. What would Roy do? What would Alan do? What would Trump do? What would anybody do? I always think, what would Jesus do, right? He set the perfect example. I want to try and live more like Jesus did. And I realized it was effortless to him, not because God made it effortless to him, because he had temptation. The devil was right in front of him saying, if you just bow to me, I'll give you the whole world. What profit a man to gain the whole world, but lose his soul in the process? Jesus said, no. I don't want the kingdom of earth. I want the kingdom of heaven. So that's what I want. I don't put my treasures now in this earth. I enjoy having nice things. But really, they're not mine. I'm just a caretaker. And I'm supposed to do a good job at taking care of God's things, God's people. And I realize that it's more effortless to me because I give it up to God and say, show me. I don't even have to say it with my words. I just simply live in that realm of show me. And it's a better, easier place to live. And I am conscious of this other head, this tenant that I have that was there when I got here, if you know what I'm saying. I was born with him, a part of me, born into sin. Sin meaning to miss the mark. So I don't want to sin. I don't want to sin. I don't want to miss the mark. I keep having to raise my sights higher and higher if I'm shooting at a target, and I keep pulling the trigger or, pulling the arrow back and shooting and it's going below the target. I'm missing the mark. So I've got to eyes up, consciousness up, everything up towards the Father in heaven. And then I can stop missing the mark. And really, there is no mark. There is no shooting of arrows. There's no shooting of guns. That's all just earthly things. Really, it's being obedient to the Father in heaven. And then sin comes along and you look at it and say, oh no. Oh, no. Why? What profit a man to gain the whole world, lose his soul in the process? No, no, no. And I'm sure that's how Jesus was. Every time the devil would show his ugly face, Jesus, no, thank you. No. So there's all these temptations in this world, all these temptations, food and ego gratification, and drugs. I get calls from people, marijuana, smoking marijuana, taking pills, and I just can't stop. Well, you're not committed yet. And I thought, well, here is a time in history. Here is a time, if there was ever a time. Today is the best day to start anything every day when you're moving towards God. But if anything, here is a time in history to say, you know what? Something is happening that is biblical. We are in biblical times. And I want to be a conduit of God so that I can do God's work. I had that dream a while back, or that consciousness. God said, come be a saver, not a saver. It was wrong. It was a freer of souls. And because it's so interesting how just a little twist of the words, it will change things. A saver of souls, that's Jesus. A freer of souls can be all of us if we help to free others that are tormented by the mind. How your mind can keep you well. And all it takes is one person to say, listen, friend, listen, brother, sister, listen, stranger, eyes up. Give God credit for your life. Thank God for your life. Listen to God with your soul. Listen to him with everything that you are. Don't let 1% of you get distracted. And I am the king of distraction. I literally sat on the throne of distraction for a decade or more. And then one day my dad calls me and says, I need your help. And I, 7 years ago, said, I stand ready. And so when he asked me, I said, okay. I said it with my mouth. I meant it with my heart and my mind and my soul. So I'm ready. What do you need, Dad? And he says, I need you to help me run this organization. Okay, let's go. And my whole life changed. I had to give up this, wonderful, crazy lifestyle of being taken all over the world, jet setting and fancy airplanes and cars and money and fame and glory and all this stuff that was so nothing in comparison to a moment of total consciousness, a fraction of a moment of total consciousness, which I can't say I get total consciousness, but I get consciousness every now and then. It's like, wow, that's what it's all about. So, do I care about all those things that I'll probably not experience anymore? I can look back and go, well, that was fun going to Iceland and driving a Range Rover on a glacier in Iceland. I've done that. Going to Monaco and to the south of France and to here, there, and everywhere, the Amazon jungle. I've done all that. It was fun, but there was always something missing. And I knew there was always something missing. And the reason why is that I had never really reached for God. I always thought, God, you got my back. You got my back. You got my back. Come on, let's go. Let's go do this. God's got my back. And he did have my back, thank God. Thank you, God. But I didn't have his back. I do now. So I am willing, I stand ready to do whatever I need to do that God puts in my heart, and I move forward without fear, without trepidation, without concern or worry, because I know God actually does have my back, and I've got his. So, a man must conquer from within. Forget about the outside world. The outside world is just a bunch of silly temptations, and if you can't control what goes in your mouth, then how will you ever control what comes out of your mouth? So I'm just looking at all the temptations of life, all the interesting things in my life that have always pulled me in a direction. I'm not pulled in those directions anymore. I'm looking at each and every one of them. just conscious. In the light of consciousness, they have no strength. They actually were shadows, and when you shine a light, they're gone. So as I shine the light in front of me to go a direction, the things that I thought were the boogeymen, the dust bunnies that were scary, the fears and doubts that I had inside of my mind that were much, much, much bigger and much more real in my head than they are actually in reality. They're gone. Reacting to family members, reacting to my wife, to my children, to my sister, to my brother, to attorneys, business bums coming up to me on the street. And I feel like that what I have for the bum is love, because I treat him eye to eye, man to man, until such times as he chooses to not look me right in the eye and fall from grace with me in that moment. And maybe I affected that man as he walked away and he realized, yeah, I do have a skill. He told me he was a carpenter. Maybe I should go apply for work and stop drinking those extra cups of beer or whatever it is, extra quarts of beer. That guy, he had a point. I do have a skill. We don't know what happens next. It's up to us to just do the right thing and be like Johnny Appleseed and plant the little seed of kindness in that man or woman, human being, and treat them like an equal for 1 moment. 1 moment. 1 moment is all it takes to change a person's life. So if I am used for many, many, many of those 1 moment opportunities, because it's happened to me, somebody would do something kind. I'll give you an example. Here's one of those 1 moment opportunities. When I was at a down part of my life about 25 or so years ago, I went fishing with a guy. He says, come on, let's go fishing. I'll take you to Mexico and go fishing. He had a soft spot in his heart for me. And he says, but you got to save up for it. And if you can save $50 a week, I'll keep the money. I was working with him at the time, for him really. And he says, and when you get up to $400, that'll pay for your flight. And you can stay in my room so you don't have to pay for the hotel. And you can go on my boat, because I get to rent a boat, a little Panga, 18-foot little 2-person boat. He says, but you got to pay for some of this. And I thought to myself, this is how my dad was with me. And this is very familiar to me. And I said, okay, all right, I'll do that. So when I finally saved up enough money, we went fishing in Mexico. And he kept on catching fish, big ones. And finally, and I was catching a few, but he kept catching big ones because he was very, very skilled at this. He's an older man than me, 20 years my senior. And again, this was 25 years ago. And finally, he caught this marlin. And it jumped out of the water, and I was like, wow, you hooked onto a big one. And I had to sit down because the boat was only, 5 feet wide or maybe 6 feet wide, and it was 18 feet long. And so, you catch a big old 250-pound marlin, everybody else better sit down. It was me and him and the guy that was, taking us out to where the fish were. And he looks at me, this man who was 6'3", standing there with this fishing pole in the air, like old man of the sea. And he looks at me and he goes, here, take it, bring it in. And I go, no, no, no. And he puts the rod in my hands. And I go, no, it's too big. Because I thought, this is a giant fish. Normally they strap you into a chair. The fish was heavier than I was. He says, bring it in, come on. And he was smiling the whole time. And so I started trying to reel in this monster, and he was like holding me. And I thought to myself, why did he do that? Why? And it touched me so deeply, because you know what it was? He had done this a lot, and it was his good pleasure to give the kindness to me. He didn't have a son. He had 2 daughters, and I was the son that he wished that he had, and he wanted me to experience catching this huge fish. And so I did. I caught a 238-pound marlin from a little tiny boat. It was 9.5 feet long, the fish. And once they got it up to the boat and pulled this fish into the boat. And it was right between our legs. And I thought, if this thing moves, it's going to flip us out of the boat. And he says, it ain't moving, it's dead. And I thought to myself, this is the scariest thing I'd ever done in my life, to sit basically on top of a 238-pound marlin that could have flipped us out of the boat in a second. And I looked at him, I said, why did you do that? He says, I've caught a lot of those fish. He goes, I know you never have. I wanted you to have the experience. And to this day, 25 years later, that silly thing, I mean, yes, it was cool, but it was nothing to him. It was nothing. But it is still in me, the kindness, instead of the greed of, look at the fish I caught. I'm a better fisherman than you, that we all have the big ego. I caught the big fish. He wanted me to catch the big fish. But really what I got out of the whole experience was, what a beautiful kindness that man extended to me that is still in me. Something called love, something called service. In other words, he gave me the opportunity to catch the big fish. And he didn't have to take me fishing. But really, he treated me like a king, and I was the pauper. He was the big king. He was the rich guy. He was the guy that knew how to do all these things. I was just this dumb, broke-ass kid at the time. But he put something in me, a splinter in my mind of kindness, of what it really, truly means to be kind to people and not want anything or expect anything back. How can I repay that man? And I'm friends with him to this day, and I talked to him about 4 months ago, and I hadn't talked to him in a couple years. And I said, I just want to tell you how much I love you for what you did for me 25 years ago. I said, you're like my family. I love you. And he just laughed, and he said, oh, it was nothing. He goes, I love you too. But you know what it is? It's a kindness that is such an apple seed. It's a Johnny Appleseed to do. He planted it in my heart. And now I become a tree that also can plant the seed of kindness and goodness in other people's hearts, like my father has done for many of you for decades upon decades, half a century plus. So we have to conquer ourselves first. We have to conquer from within. It's all in here that really the battle takes place, and up here. And that's what's going on in the world today. There is a battle to distract us with everything, with these things that'll take you into a whole other world. Be careful. Be careful what you wish for, because you may get it. You can look at it, you can see it, you can listen to it, you can almost smell it and taste it right on those phones. They know what you're doing, they know what you've done, they know where you've been, they know what you looked at, and they know how to feed you. Because this little machine right here that we all have, for the most part, it's learning us, artificial intelligence. And the more it learns us, the slower it pulls us right into that hell that we see taking place outside right now in our lives. So, coming back to conquer from within, I was thinking, how do I convey this message? How do I convey? It's like whittling. We have to keep whittling away at ourselves and carve out the man that we want to be, or the woman, or the decent human being that we want to be, by whittling away at our flaws, at the temptations, by saying no. Remember, who was it? One of the presidents, I think it was Betty Ford, or no, maybe it was Bush. Somebody said, just say no to drugs. I don't know, whoever that was. Really, it's just say no to yourself, because this dark side of you will take you down the wrong road every time. So you have to kind of be a little bit measured. Do I need that? I remember watching my dad all my life. Do I really need that? His story was, when he was a little boy, if he had a little bit of change in his pocket and he looked into the store window at some pastry that he wanted to eat, and it was only a nickel, and he'd pull it out and he'd look at the change in his, and he'd pull out a nickel and he'd look at that nickel and he'd say, do I really need that pastry more than I need that nickel? Because once I spend that nickel on that pastry, I can't get it back. And I can't move my life forward if I fall to every temptation, every pastry or whatever it is that tempts you. As a little boy, it's a pastry. As a full-grown man, it's a Ferrari, or it's a new house, or a new girlfriend, or God knows what, or some lifestyle that you know you shouldn't have. So I just look at things now and I go, do I really need that? Do I really need that candy bar? Do I really need that cheeseburger from In-N-Out Burger, wherever your favorite comfort food is? Do I really need that? Is that going to help me to be a better man, a better human being? Is that going to take me closer to God? Or is that going to make me forget who I am? Right? Jesus said, with this is my body. This food, this relationship with food is so important, because we either take it and remember our Father in heaven and his Son, or we forget them. So I got to tell you, now is a wonderful time to start your spiritual diet. Start saying no to things, getting angry, being afraid. These are very fattening to the spirit. And you don't want to have a fat spirit, because you're not going to be able to make it through the portal into heaven. Joking, but you know what I'm saying. So as we put ourselves on this spiritual diet, along with a physical diet, perhaps couldn't hurt you, then we can all become much more clear-thinking individuals, instead of being controlled by everything we eat, everything we think, everything we look at. I have been putting myself on a diet for this, and all of a sudden I'm getting phone calls, and I'm getting text messages, check-in text. Check-in text? What is that? And I go, I'm here. Well, just checking on you. You've been real quiet on social media lately. Yes, I have, yes. I'm just being observant, watching what's happening in the world. I'm good. Thank you for checking in. Because people, I guess I'm an influencer in my pseudonym name world that I come from, the entertainment world. And also now here a little bit, a few of you folks have sent me a note here, like, where's the Sunday conversation? Because I've just been doing the Facebook Live. Our videographer was sick and couldn't come in. And God bless her and her family. Her dad's going through a tough time, and maybe we could all say a prayer for her elderly father who is in the hospital. If you want to say a prayer for Larry Carlson is his name. He's a good man. He's a good man, and I love him and his family. So I had nobody to film this temporarily. And so I just did a Facebook Live. But I asked God that he spare my friend Larry Carlson, because he is a good man. But a lot of us are going to go through this. My brother had COVID, and my brother, I had to say a few prayers for him and say, God, please spare my brother. He's a good man. And he comes out the other side a much, much more conscious human being. Thank God. When I had my gallbladder out, I came out the other side a much more conscious human being. Thank you, God. And so, unfortunately, where there is no pain, there is no gain. Remember that in high school? In the high school gym, it said, where there's no pain, there is no gain. And sadly, it's true. That's how silly we are as human beings. So I think that, a lot of us are going to lose people we love with this horrible COVID pandemic that we're in. It is a horrible thing. It's horrible. And I pray to God I don't get it. I've seen what it's doing to people. But if I get it, I'll learn something from it. And I'll do my best to be wise and deal with it. And I hope you do too. But I know that I have a time right now in my life where God is calling me and you, he's calling us to pay attention to him. Not to the left or the right or, the north or south or east or west, but heaven. Our consciousness should be heaven bound. Look up and listen with your heart and your soul. And they're connected. The soul is the spiritual side. The heart is the physical side. And if those two are in alignment, with the Father in heaven, your whole direction of life will change. How you deal with everything will change. So I don't want to go too long today because, of course, my friend who is sick is waiting for me, and I don't want her to be out in the cold, and she is waiting outside. And God bless her too. Stephanie Carlson, thank you so much for helping with these Sunday conversations. I'm Alan Masters. Thank you for supporting the foundation through this tough time we're in. Your contributions and your support are enabling us to fight the good fight and help people to wake up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for waking up. Thank you for listening. See you next week.